About a month ago, I was watching a video by retrogamingnow about Minecraft 20W14 Infinite, one of the many April Fool's versions that Minecraft has had throughout the years, and the first one that I personally played. At some point in the video, he showed this, the patterns dimension, and he said something to the effect of how it
could be some sort of binary code. The squares are 8x8 grids with 2 possible states in each cell, and as we move in a direction, the surface changes in a way that appears to be binary counting, sometimes at least.
And 5 seconds later, I saw the pattern the dimension is named after. This one-off line led me down a rabbit hole to discover what this pattern actually is, and how it fully manifests in these 7x7 squares in-game. So that's what I'll be talking about today. Let's begin. This section is going to be the actual context behind all of this. It was like 11 PM or so, and I was fucking around on my computer, as you do, when I randomly decided to watch the video I was talking about. When the patterns section came up, I saw it and immediately was able to decode what it was. It was a binary counter. I immediately started digging into this after that, because of course I was going to do that, and I eventually found how this whole thing works, so let's get into that, starting now. Okay, so this binary counter has, well, 2 counters actually, so it is one for the x-axis and one for the z-axis, with each bit for the x-axis representing these numbers, and each bit for the z-axis representing these numbers, like so. Remember, these are in binary, meaning that instead of a 1s, 10s, and 100s place, you get a 1s, 2s, and 4s place. Here's an example so you can actually understand what I mean. Take the number 459 in decimal, for example. In our way of writing it, it's written like it's shown on screen here. Now this is what it looks like in base 2, with each digit's place value starting with 256, in decimal anyways. You can even check this is correct yourself by subtracting the value of each digit by the number, starting with the highest power of 2 you can subtract. For example, 459 minus 256 is 203. 203 minus 128 is 75. Because the highest power of 2 below 75 is 64, you do 75 minus 64, which is 11. The highest power of 2 below 11 is 8, so you do 11 minus 8, which is 3, and after this, 3 minus 2 is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0, leaving you with this string. As another example, take 303, also in decimal. 303 minus 256 is 47. Because the highest power of 2 below 47 is 32, you subtract 47 minus 32, which is 15. Following this, 15 minus 8 is 7, 7 minus 4 is 3, 3 minus 2 is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0, leaving you with this string. Now let's convert these two numbers into how the pattern on each section works. But uh-oh, these numbers go higher than the pattern allows. Or so it seems. So what happens when we convert these two strings into the pattern? Well, what do you think will happen? Will the pattern somehow overflow into the next section? Will it reset? Well, it actually does a secret third thing. This. As it turns out, this pattern doesn't stop at the first 4 bits for the x-axis and 5 for the z-axis respectively. At 32 on the x and 64 on the z, the bits overflow into the next column, allowing the pattern to continue as if nothing happened, overflowing into the 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, and 2048's place for the x-axis, and 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and 1024 place for the z-axis. In the cases of 459 and 303, where only 256, 128, 64, and 32 places are used, it results in this string right here. Now you might be thinking, Ari, couldn't you just extend the z-axis so far that it overflows into a third column, or even a fourth into where the z-axis counter would be? Well, believe it or not, while you can overflow it into the 4th column like this, you can't overflow it past the 3rd block of the 4th column, as that's where the start of the x counter is. And for some reason, that blocks the z-axis counter from going any further, effectively meaning that it resets at some point. In fact, the x-axis, which only has 2 4/7 of a column, or this bit, resets much earlier than the z-axis ever will. Now, because we know that these two counters overflow, a natural question emerges. Exactly where do they overflow? At what coordinates? Well, if you count every single bit on each column, the furthest power of 2 that the x-axis can possibly go is here, with its 18th bit representing 2 to the 17 because of the first bit being 2 to the 0, or 1, with 2 to the 17 being 131,072. Adding all the other bits, the maximum possible number that can be counted on this specific counter is 2 to the 17 plus 2 to the 16 plus 2 to the 15 plus 2 to the 14, all the way down to 2 to the 0, which is 262,143. Keep this number in mind for about 45 seconds from now. On the z-axis, it's a little bit different, only in the furthest you can go is so much farther than the x-axis that it's a bit insane. The very last bit you can represent for the z-axis is the number's 23rd bit, which represents 2 to the 22 because, again, 2 to the 0 is the first bit, which means that the highest bit represents 4,194,304. This means the very highest you can count on the z-axis counter is 2 to the 22, plus 2 to the 21, plus 2 to the 20, plus 2 to the 19, and so on and so forth, down to 2 to the 0, which adds up to a total of 8,388,607 possible z-axis configurations. This means the maximum coordinates for each section, assuming each entire 8x8 section counts as 1, come out to 262,143, 8,388,607. The actual block coordinates that these sections overflow at is a little different, and how you calculate them is pretty simple. Because each section of the pattern is 8x8, you multiply each of these numbers by 8, and then add 7 after that because the overflow point is directly below a power of 2. This gives 2,097,151 for the x-coordinate, and 67,108,864 for the z-coordinate. Now let's teleport to see if it works. So I'll punch in the numbers, and lo and behold, it worked! The differences between 0, 0 and 2,097,152, 0 are literally non-existent. They look the same, and it's because of that x-axis overflow I was talking about earlier. I would teleport to the z-axis, but the thing is, the distance from one end of a Minecraft world to the other is only about 60 million, which is less than the 67,108,864 required to see the z overflow. We can, however, teleport to 1/4 of the distance to see that, in fact, it would overflow at the distance I specified here. This means we have officially solved the pattern in this version that, to my knowledge, nobody else has solved in the over 5 years since 20W14 Infinite released. I even contacted retrogamingnow about the whole thing, and he said about as much as I did. Now the question is, how should you interpret this entire pattern? Does it start from 0, 0, or the lowest assigned integer you can go, being negative 2,097,152 and negative 67,108,864 respectively? Does the blank square equal -1, -1, or 0, 0? Is a black square on or off? Well, honestly, I suppose that's up to you to decide for yourself. For me, I would say that the black squares represent on, while the white ones represent off, given that they're in the positive x and z axis, and it starts at 0, 0, with all the black squares meaning as such, which would mean it goes like this chart here. So with all of that in mind, that is the pattern, and we have now 100% officially solved the patterns dimension in 20W14 Infinite. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I was going to put all the fan art anyone has ever made for me in the last video, the 30,000 sub special, but I forgot, so I'll just go here with credits where applicable, so those will be going on screen now. So yeah, thank you to all of my channel members, especially B_un, I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce that bun or not, sorry if I butchered that, for being tier 1-1, which is 3. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, you guys are amazing, and I don't know when I'll upload my next video, I just thought this was so interesting that I wanted to make a video on it. So, yeah, if you want to subscribe, go ahead. If you want to like the video, whatever, do whatever you feel like doing here. And, yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now. See ya.